One of our holiday traditions is making fudge. I remember Nana used to have 3 or 4 different kinds of fudge sitting around at Christmas time. And now we're carrying on that tradition, making some keto and low carb versions. So today on Southern Keto, I'm gonna make a high protein fudge that you're absolutely gonna love. Don't worry, it contains simple ingredients and no fancy cooking techniques, so you'll be able to easily pull this one off and impress the whole family, even the non-keto ones. So let's get right to it and make some fudge right after this. Now, not only is this recipe delicious, but it's super simple as well. We're gonna put everything together in the food processor. The first thing we're gonna do is take a cup of this full fat cottage cheese. You wanna use the full fat, don't use the low fat on this, because you need this for the texture. Now this cottage cheese right here is a pretty good texture, but occasionally you're gonna find some that are pretty wet. In that case, you're gonna need to use my little salad spinner trick and get some of that moisture out. Just put this right in the mix. A little bit for me. And then to that, and the secret to making these taste like Oreos is this black cocoa powder. Now if you don't have this, you can use the brown cocoa as well, but don't blame me when it don't taste like Oreos, because it ain't going to. I'm going in with half a cup of that. Oh man, that is the good stuff. And listen, I had a comment the other day from someone that said they read the back of their package of black cocoa and it said it is for coloring only and not for flavor. Well, I can promise you, if you want the Oreo flavor, you gotta use this. They probably had somebody mad and sued them or something because they bought that one and it didn't taste like regular cocoa powder. This is nice and smooth and rich, and that's where Oreo gets its flavor from. Now I've got my keto sweetener, and I'll put a link to this up there and down in the description if you haven't made that yet. We're gonna use 3/4 of a cup of it, so I'm gonna use that half cup, and I'm gonna use half of a half. You know, save on the dishes, right? Just make sure you don't use the granulated kind. You want this powdered kind instead. Now the next thing we're gonna put in is a 1/4 cup of almond butter, and pro tip, you know how this almond butter separates. If you will store it upside down like that, you don't have to stir it up every single time. But another pro tip, if the lid's not on there tight, you're gonna be doing some major cleanup and it ain't never gonna be right again. So make sure you screw that lid on tight and store it upside down. I'm going in with my 1/4 cup of that. If it'll come out. Come on, little fella. Here we go. Now the next thing we're putting in is coconut oil. Make sure this is a solid coconut oil, because there's some out there, it's called a 76 degree, and it's one of the ones we use in soap making and things like that, but it's not gonna solidify again, and you need it to solidify in order to make this fudge. I'm gonna melt this in the microwave because it needs to be liquid right now. So I melted that in the microwave. I'll pour it right in the mix. And that's a 1/4 cup of that. And I'm forgetting something. What am I forgetting? Oh, that old beaver-free. We're going in with a teaspoon of that beaver-free vanilla extract. And that's gonna make it absolutely delicious. Now I'm just gonna put my lid on my food processor, and we're gonna bring this together, and I'll see you in just a second. I'll show you what it looks like. And you're gonna need to go in and scrape your sides down every once in a while. Just make sure it's in there. Everything is well incorporated and everything's nice and proper. Oh man, look at that. Now, if you love fudge recipes or other desserts, or you just want to tune in to see what kind of craziness I'm going to come up with next, make sure you hit the subscribe button down there, click the bell next to it, and hit all so you get all of my craziness. Now ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let me show you what this looks like. You just need to get everything well combined and pretty smooth in there. So this is what it should look like when you're finished. So I just got a parchment paper lined 9x9 baking pan. You can use an 8x8 if you want to make it a little bit thicker. Hey, that's up to you. I like having more pieces. It just makes me feel fancy. So I'm doing the 9x9. All you gotta do is take this out now. Try not to get the blade in there. Just get all this goodness out. And we're not baking it. We're gonna go right in the fridge with it. So I'm gonna get all this out, put it in the fridge for about an hour or two, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're finished. Now, as you know, I'm not a professional baker. So this is the best I could come up with. And the other thing I realized, this was my testing batch portion. So I should actually use like a 4x4 for this or double the recipe, but I'm gonna show you what it looks like because I just don't have enough time to do it again, because you just might wanna make this for Christmas, as easy as this is. I'm gonna throw it in the fridge for about an hour. We'll check on it and I'll be right back. So it's been a couple hours now. I'm gonna take these out of the freezer. Let's see what it looks like. Oh yeah, this is gonna go a little longer in the fridge, but I wanna taste it. So I'll just cut off a little bit. Now you can see why I said you need to double this recipe or use a smaller pan. This was the recipe I was using for testing because I don't ever make a whole batch because of how expensive ingredients are. I usually do a half or a quarter batch, and I forgot, didn't double my recipe, and that's what happens. Y'all, it ain't always perfect in the kitchen, but I can tell you one thing. It is absolutely delicious. I'll put the real recipe to make the full batch down in the description, but you're gonna absolutely love these. I want to make sure I got this recipe into you before Christmas, but I got to run. I got some exciting stuff coming up. Now, if you like this recipe, make sure you check out this Christmas cookie recipe. It's been one of my absolute favorites.